take shape, standing there watching the Tea Party and rejoicing and being concerned at the same time. But I kind of walked away from there and thought, gosh, that's a really good idea. But Krista Huff is one of the most powerful, efficient, effective organizers I've ever met. Obama was a community organizer. Krista Huff is a state organizer. And I would ask you to please put your hands together and give her a warm welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Chris and I each came up with this caucus class idea separately, and then we mentioned it to each other, and because we're extremely talkative, so I guess no one else wanted to talk to us. So I was like, Chris, we should do caucus. He's like, yeah, I totally think so. Okay. So we're teaching the classes. Let's see. First of all, I didn't have quite enough handouts. It's a set of 3 papers. Do you raise your hand if you don't have a close friend or spouse with you, and you don't have papers? Okay. We have 3 people who would like papers. If there's a married couple or a close friend. Oh, look. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take yours. Thank you so much. And I can send these to you on email. On the bottom, raise your hand. Joy and Susie. I got one. You got one? Okay. Anyone else who's here with a close friend who can share for tonight? Because then I can send them to you on email.
Thanks very much.
Jen needs one?
Yeah, if you have any. Has everybody got what they need?
Why don't you share with me?
Okay, I'll share with them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first of all, to get additional copies, right at the top where in blue it has my email address. Just send me an email and say, please send me copies of the caucus presentation. And then if you want to, I write a political newsletter. You can ask me to send you a sample. I won't subscribe you unless you send me another email that says, okay, go ahead and subscribe me. I send out an email no more often than once a week because I have people who forward me stuff 5 to 15 times a day, and I have at least 5 of those people, and it drives me nuts, and I will never be that person. Okay. I'm going to tell you why I'm standing here tonight. There was a lady in my hometown, and her son went to Alfred University, and he got hazed, and he died. And she started a group that became a nationwide group, similar to Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, and it had to do with college hazing. And this is that whole one person can make a difference speech. I didn't used to be political. I didn't know the difference between Karl Marx and Karl Rove. I retired from my Fortune 500 job after 20-some-odd years. I was raising my children, who I had late in life. I came home from Bible study one day. There was a very large group of guest workers and uninvited workers on my neighbor's property. And they were damaging my property and screaming and yelling at me. So I grabbed a weapon, and I grabbed a cell phone, and I called 911, and I said, you guys got to get over here, this is getting really ugly. Well, one of the uninvited workers had been arrested previously in Colorado, 11 times on 39 charges, including 4 DUIs, manufacturing and selling drugs, multiple assaults, multiple fleeing jurisdictions, and twice for filing false police reports. And when the police arrived, he told the police that I threatened to kill him and his friend. And I was arrested on 4 felony charges. And it took me 18 months and $13,000 off my home equity to get that case dismissed. And that is why I'm here today. So we all have some kind of political motivation. A lot of us, it has to do with fiscal responsibility. We are horrified at the way our country is spending money that we essentially don't have. Me, I would like to see a governor or a president or both crack down on border control laws. If they would simply implement I lost 2 years of my life. It is not easy going through something like that. I had PTSD very bad. I had to drop out of every group I belonged to. I didn't want to shame them while I was under arrest, and I wasn't allowed to leave the state. And it was an appalling situation. And once we finally get the governor who's willing to do that, then I'm going to be in their office telling them what they need to do next to get these criminals in jail. Because if any of us had 4 DUIs, we'd be in a penitentiary somewhere. This guy's still free, by the way. Yeah. So that's why I'm here. And so after I was recovering from that, I got involved in the political process by joining the local Republican Party. And then because I have a Fortune 500 background, I was able to sort of make it a big volunteer position just because I have a big imagination. And after 20 years of them telling you how to do it newer, smarter, better, you actually learn how to do things newer, smarter, better. So we're going to go to caucus, but we're going to do it newer, smarter, and better. Okay, the caucus is in your neighborhood. It's easy to find. I'm going to leave you all to contact your county clerk and recorder or your county Republican or Democrat party and figure out where it is. But it is March 16th, and you can write that on your calendar right now. Who gets to go to caucus? Okay, you need to be a registered voter, and you need to register with your party 60 days prior to caucus. Most of you are already registered. You can also check your county clerk and recorder's website to make sure you're still registered with that party, because sometimes there are mistakes that get made and you might be unaffiliated right now and you don't know it. So just go and verify. You also need to be living in your precinct for 30 days prior to caucus. And if you have moved recently, take care of it today. Don't wait until January or February to take care of all those little details. All right. Anyone can come to caucus with you. They just can't necessarily vote. You can bring children. I encourage you to bring teenagers. You know, let's get them started on this process. You can bring your mom who's visiting from Missouri. You can bring a Democrat friend. Anybody can come with you, but the only ones who get to vote that night are the people who are registered in that party and live in that precinct. Okay. There are three big things that we're going to do at caucus. We're going to have a straw poll for governor and for senator. And it's nothing like in a primary state where all the media goes. A straw poll is just you write down on a little piece of paper who your favorite U.S. Senate candidate is in Colorado, and they add them all up and they report them to the press. Okay, but it's not an official vote. The other two important things we do that night, we are electing delegates to go to higher assemblies, and we are electing precinct committee people. We'll get to the delegates shortly. I'm going to tell you about the precinct committee people. That's the lowest elected level, and I'll just use the Republican as an example because that's what I was. My husband was a precinct committee person, and he would go around and pass out literature in our neighborhood during campaign season, and that's pretty much all he did. And then sometimes he would say to me, "I'm busy, can you pass it out?" And I would pass it out, and then when we hosted the caucus in my house in 2006, it was time to elect 2 people. And he stood up and said, "Well, I'll do it again." And he goes, "You do it too." I'm like, "All right, I'll do it." So I didn't really still know Karl Marx, Karl Rove. I just volunteered to pass out literature. But these are the 2 main roles the precinct person does. And by the way, there are benefits. If you think you're going to get more politically active for several years and not just this year or next year, you know, there are benefits to doing this. You get to meet all of the elected officials from your area and many others. You get to talk to people who have been doing politics for 41 years, like Chris. Where is Chris? Why don't I see him? He must be on his phone. Okay. And you get to learn a lot of cool things just by attending meetings and absorbing information, and that's pretty much how I did it, because I was dopey. I didn't know anything, and that was just 2 years ago, and now I'm going to run for a national committee woman, and so it's not actually that hard. You just absorb the information. Okay, precinct committee person. 1, in the even number years, in the summertime, they are going to campaign. They might be going door to door and passing out literature. They might be phoning people and inviting them to come to caucus or the primary election.
Are these the people in your party that you're going to?
In your political party.
Okay, so you're not cold calling just anybody.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Once you've got that position, you have all these voter lists on the computer, and you know everybody's birthday, and you know that their husband's not the same party that they are, and you know it's all sort of confidential. Okay. Yeah.
But you're not accidentally hitting someone that...
No.
Okay.
No. Nobody will ever ask you to go visit someone from another party.
Okay.
You might take it upon yourself to visit the unaffiliated households. That's a good place to find more voters. But again, that's really if you're like the volunteer extraordinaire and you really want to go above and beyond, which some people do. Okay, so you're going to be helping to get out the vote during the summer of the even years. And you might attend an occasional meeting, but really none of them are mandatory. Even if you get a very official-looking form saying, "We're having a central committee meeting in Arapahoe County," you don't actually have to attend. But presumably, if you volunteered for a political position, you might be interested, and you're going to gain a lot of knowledge by going to those meetings. The other important thing that the precinct committee person will do, 2 years after they get elected at caucus, they will host the next caucus. And that is actually very important, because if they don't show up to host it, it's a disaster. And some of you may have attended one of these. Or sometimes they get elected, they do know